3 months ago. A Tuesday morning shattered Ashley's world forever. She stood at the window of their rented Chicago apartment, a place that had once seemed like the beginning of a happy life together. Now, looking back, Ashley realized that their honeymoon period had ended a long time ago. Memories from 2 years prior flickered in her mind. The grimy Greyhound bus station on a gray October day. A sea of people with duffel bags and suitcases. Mike had been standing next to her in the line for the bus back to their hometown, nervously fiddling with his ticket. The guy with kind eyes and a shy smile had seemed so trustworthy. Looks like our bus broke down, he'd said, pointing to the engine that was billowing smoke. 5 hours later, in a roadside diner, time had flown by unnoticed. They talked about everything: their jobs, their dreams, their favorite movies. I knew right away you were special, Mike had admitted as they boarded the replacement bus. A bitter, ironic twist of fate. Now, Ashley knew that in his mother Sharon's eyes, special meant not good enough for my son. On that Tuesday morning, 3 months ago, the doorbell rang at 10 a.m. Mike opened it, and his mother, Sharon, swept into the hallway. Her eyes darted around the apartment like an inspector checking her territory. "Mikey, sweetie," she cooed, hugging her son tightly. She had decided to visit the newlyweds. Ashley noticed how Sharon emphasized the word son, giving only a slight, dismissive nod to her daughter-in-law. Sharon," Ashley said, trying to remain polite. "I just made a big pot of chili for dinner." "Chili?" Sharon raised an eyebrow with a barely perceptible smirk. "How curious. I'd love to see my dear daughter-in-law's cooking skills." In the kitchen, Sharon watched Ashley's every move in silence. The girl sat at the table, feeling a pair of critical eyes burning into her back. "You didn't let the beans soak long enough," Sharon commented after taking a single, cold spoonful. "And the meat is a bit tough. You can tell it's a cheap cut." Mike coughed uncomfortably. "Mom, it's really delicious." "Oh, Mikey, you just got used to eating whatever you could find during your bachelor days." His mother sighed with theatrical sadness. "I remember how you used to praise my chili and beg for the recipe." Ashley felt her face flush with humiliation. She clenched her fists under the table, forcing herself to stay silent. "Ashley, dear," Sharon continued, her eyes narrowing, "our neighbor, Mr. Henderson, told me an interesting story. He saw you yesterday at the entrance with some man. Said you were talking for quite a while." "That was Kevin, a colleague. He was dropping off some work documents," Ashley replied calmly. "Documents?" his mother-in-law repeated, her tone dripping with insinuation. "What a strange way to deliver them. Couldn't he have just given them to you at work or sent in a mail?" Mike looked up from his plate. "Mom, please, don't start." "Don't start what?" Sharon feigned outrage. "Do I not have the right to be concerned about my only son's life? Or am I not allowed to speak my mind now?" The air in the kitchen grew thick with tension. Ashley got up from the table and began to clear the dishes, her hands trembling with stress. After his mother left, Mike sat in the living room for a long time, staring blankly at the TV. His thoughts were clearly miles away. "We need to talk," Ashley said, sitting down next to her husband. "About what?" Mike didn't take his eyes off the screen. "About your mother's behavior. About the way she talks to me." Mike turned sharply to his wife. "Ashley, she's just worried about me. You have to understand. I'm her only child. Your mother is accusing me of all sorts of things." "Did you hear her tone?" "Ash, don't exaggerate. That's just how she is. She needs time to get used to you." Ashley felt a familiar ache inside. 3 months. 3 months of this. And her husband was still defending his mother instead of his wife. At 2 in the afternoon, Ashley was sitting in a small cafe near her office with her friend. "Jess, listen," Jess said, putting down her fork. "Do you really think your mother-in-law is making these little jabs by accident?" "I don't know what to think," Ashley admitted. "Maybe she's just used to controlling Mike's life." "Ashley, wake up," Jess said, shaking her head. "She's deliberately testing you, marking her territory. It's what she does." "Jess, don't be dramatic." "Dramatic? I went through this with my first husband. His mother was also just concerned. Do you think it's a coincidence she started her attacks right when you two were getting settled?" Ashley had thought about that. For the first few months after the wedding, Sharon had been polite, almost distant. "You have to set firm boundaries," Jess advised. "I told my ex, it's either me or her. You have to make him choose. And who did he choose? Ashley asked. Jess gave a bitter smile. His mother. That's why we were divorced a year later. That evening, Mike came home, his face pensive and determined. I got a job offer today, he announced, taking off his coat. It's a fly-in, fly-out schedule. 3 weeks on the oil rigs in North Dakota, 3 weeks home. The pay was double his current salary. Where exactly? Ashley asked cautiously. It's a big drilling company. The conditions are good. The guys are solid. Ashley understood. They desperately needed the money. Their small apartment, the wedding loan, her modest salary as an office administrator. It all added up. But a cold feeling of dread settled in her stomach. When would you start? If I accept. In a week. At 8 p.m. They sat in the living room, weighing the pros and cons. I know it's not great to leave you alone, Mike said. But we need the cash. I can handle it. Ashley reassured him. Work is work. My mom. She's really worried about this, Mike said, his voice hesitant. Ashley's guard went up. You already told her? I called her during the day. She thinks it's dangerous to leave a young wife alone. Dangerous in what sense? Mike avoided her gaze. Well, you know, anything can happen. You could get sick. There could be problems. Ashley knew it wasn't about getting sick at all. Sharon had already planted entirely different thoughts in her son's head. Within half an hour, they were having their first serious, painful fight. Your mother hates me, Ashley shouted. And you see it perfectly well. Don't yell at me. Mike raised his voice. My mother doesn't hate you. She's just testing you to see if you're worthy of being my wife. The words hung in the air like a slap. Ashley felt tears welling up. So you doubt me too? Mike fell silent, his face a mask of confusion. I didn't mean it like that. That's exactly what you meant, Ashley said, turning and walking into the bedroom. Congratulations, Mike. Your mother got what she wanted. At 10 that night, Mike went out onto the balcony with his cell phone. Through the glass, Ashley watched him pace nervously. Mom. Yeah. I made the final decision. I know. Leaving her alone. Yes. I agree. The conversation lasted about 20 minutes. Mike nodded and shook his head, clearly listening to his mother's lengthy instructions. When her husband came back inside, his face was grim and guilty. What did she say? Ashley asked quietly. Mike was silent, choosing his words. She said, now we'll find out what kind of wife you really are. The words sounded like a death sentence. Ashley realized the test was just beginning. The next morning, as she watched Mike leave for work, she noticed a familiar silhouette in the window of the building across the street. Sharon was standing behind the curtain, observing their home. Ashley gave a small, defiant wave. Her mother-in-law quickly stepped back from the window. But it was clear. The surveillance had begun. A week later, the day of his departure arrived. Ashley saw her husband off at the bus station, hugging him tightly. I'll miss you, sunshine, Mike whispered in her ear. And I love you. The bus pulled away, leaving behind a cloud of exhaust and a heavy sense of foreboding. That same evening, the doorbell rang. Ashley looked through the peephole and saw Sharon's smiling face. Ashley, honey, open up, her mother-in-law sang sweetly, holding up a plate of homemade brownies. Ashley slowly unlocked the door. Sharon stood on the threshold with a strange, triumphant smile. Well, my dear, she said, walking into the apartment without an invitation. Now we'll see what kind of wife you really are. The first day without Mike began at 7 a.m. at the bus station. Ashley hugged her husband tightly, inhaling the familiar scent of his cologne. 3 weeks will fly by, Mike whispered in her ear. I'll call every day. Be careful. Okay. I will, Ashley replied, trying to hide her anxiety. The bus carried Mike away into the unknown, and Ashley stood on the empty platform, feeling abandoned. Tears welled in her eyes. The first separation seemed endless. On the second day, at 2 p.m., Ashley heard the familiar ring of the doorbell. Through the peephole, she saw Sharon's smiling face. Ashley, honey, open up, her mother-in-law chirped. Just came to visit. Ashley reluctantly opened the door. Sharon pushed into the hallway without even waiting for an invitation. How are you, dear? She asked, her eyes scanning the apartment. Missing your husband? I'm fine. Just busy with work, Ashley answered curtly. Work. Of course, her mother-in-law said with a barely noticeable smile. And keeping the house in order, I hope? Sharon walked through the rooms as if she were the owner, peering into the bedroom, the kitchen, even the bathroom. Not bad. She nodded. Though there's a bit of dust on that shelf. Mikey doesn't like it when it's dirty. Ashley clenched her fists. The apartment was spotless. But she didn't want to argue. All right. I won't disturb you, Sharon said, heading for the exit. I'll drop by again in a few days. Just keeping an eye on things. Like I promised my son. Keeping an eye on you. The word sounded like a threat. On the 5th day of her solitude, during her lunch break, Ashley ran into her neighbor, Mr. Henderson, in the courtyard. The old man was watering the flowers by the entrance. Hello, Mr. Henderson. Ashley greeted him. The neighbor smiled. Hello, young lady. Husband away on his shift? Yes. 3 weeks. Ashley sighed. It's tough for a young family. Needing the money like that. Mr. Henderson nodded sympathetically. Just be careful. The old man lowered his voice. Sharon has been telling the neighbors she's watching you. To check what kind of wife you are. Ashley felt an unpleasant chill. Watching me in what sense? She notices everything. Who comes to visit you? What time you get home? She's afraid her son has been taken from her. I suppose. She was always like that. You know. Always needed to be in control. Even when Mike was little. Drove all his friends away if she didn't like them. On the 7th day, at 8 p.m., the phone rang. It was Mike. He called every day. But tonight there was a new, tense note in his voice. Hey, sunshine, he said. But he sounded strained. How are things at home? Everything's fine, Ashley replied. Work. Cleaning. Missing you like crazy. And, has anyone been to visit? Mike asked cautiously. Your mom dropped by once or twice. And no one else? A colleague? Maybe. Some friend. Ashley sensed an accusation in the question. What's bothering you? Mike. Mom's concerned. She said she saw strange men coming into our building when you were home. She's worried for your safety. Strange men. Ashley was indignant. Mike. This is a normal apartment building. Different people live here. Please. Don't worry. It's just that Mom is worried, he said. But Ashley heard not concern in her husband's voice, but a budding suspicion. Sharon had sown the first seeds of doubt. On the 10th day, her mother-in-law arrived at 4 p.m., just as Ashley was getting home from work. Ashley, what's wrong? Sharon asked, entering the apartment. You look tired. It was a stressful day at work. I understand. Her mother-in-law nodded. Work is tiring. But you still try to keep the house clean. She walked through the rooms again, but this time more meticulously. She ran her finger over the furniture, peered into the corners. Dust on the dresser, Sharon noted. And the bed isn't made the way Mikey likes it. I was in a hurry for work this morning, Ashley explained. Right. Her mother-in-law nodded. Work is more important than home comfort. Of course. I'm not blaming you, dear. I understand everything. But her tone said otherwise. On the 18th day, an event occurred that changed everything. Ashley had been at work all day when Sharon came over, using the spare keys Mike had given her just in case. The mother-in-law carefully rummaged through the apartment. In the bedroom, in the closet with Mike's clothes, she found what she was looking for, a blue and white plaid shirt hanging among Mike's things. Sharon took it off the hanger and examined it. The size was clearly larger than what her son wore. Besides, the shirt didn't look familiar. Aha! The mother-in-law whispered with a triumphant hiss. She carefully hung the shirt back in its place, memorizing its position. Then she took out her phone and took a picture of her discovery. That same evening, Sharon called her son. The conversation was long and emotional. Mikey, sweetie, she said into the phone. I found something interesting in your apartment. What is it? Mom, it's just what I was afraid of. You better see for yourself when you get back. A man's shirt, not yours, hanging right in your closet. You'll see and decide for yourself. On the 21st day, Mike returned from his first shift. He was tense, clearly arriving with preformed suspicions. How are you? He asked, giving Ashley a dry kiss on the cheek. I missed you so much, she replied. but she felt his detachment. Let me see how our apartment is doing. See what? Ashley was surprised. Just checking if everything's in order. Mike walked through the rooms like an inspector. In the bedroom, he opened the closet and began to sort through his shirts. What are you looking for, Mike? Ashley asked. He found the blue plaid shirt and pulled it from the hanger. And what's this? Mike asked, holding up his find. Ashley looked at it. That's your old shirt. I wear it around the house sometimes. My shirt? Mike looked at it intently. Strange. I don't remember buying anything like this. At that moment, as if on cue, the doorbell rang. It was Sharon. Mikey, you're back, she exclaimed, entering the apartment. Mom, look at this shirt. Mike showed her the discovery. Ashley says it's mine, but I don't remember it. Sharon feigned surprise. Oh, what an interesting shirt. I seem to remember you had one like that once. But how could it have appeared in your closet now? Well, son, the mother said with a meaningful tone. Anything can happen. Ashley felt the atmosphere heating up. What do you mean? Anything can happen? Nothing specific. Dear, Sharon replied innocently. It's just a man's shirt in the house while the husband is away. You're hinting at cheating. Ashley couldn't stand it. Ashley, dear. Her mother-in-law spread her hands. Who said anything about cheating? It was you who said those words. Mike was silent, gloomily looking at the shirt. Ashley, tell me honestly. You're not. You don't believe me? Ashley asked point blank. I don't know what to think anymore. Her husband admitted. Exactly. Sharon nodded approvingly. We need to sort this out calmly. After his mother left, Mike and Ashley sat in the living room for a long time, avoiding conversation. I didn't cheat on you, Ashley said quietly. I want to believe that, Mike replied, but his voice was full of doubt. You want to? That's it. The wife asked in pain. Ashley, I'm tired. Let's talk tomorrow. That night, Ashley lay next to her husband, feeling a wall of distrust rising between them. Sharon had achieved her goal. She had planted the first serious seeds of doubt. In the morning, Mike was getting ready for his second shift. The farewell was cold. Call me when you get there, Ashley asked. And Mike, please, think about our conversation. I'll think about it. He nodded, but his eyes were distant. The bus took her husband away for his second tour. Standing at the bus station, Ashley understood that their relationship had developed a crack that might be impossible to repair. That evening, the phone rang. It was Sharon. Ashley, darling, sang the familiar voice. Mikey arrived safely. Good, Ashley replied dryly. You know, I keep thinking about that shirt, her mother-in-law said meaningfully. So interesting, isn't it? I'll be sure to share my thoughts with my son. Sharon, if you have something to say it directly. Why the hurry? Dear, the mother-in-law chuckled into the phone. The truth always comes out. Ashley hung up. She understood this was just the beginning. Sharon now had a weapon, and she would definitely use it. In the window across the street, the light was on. The silhouette of her mother-in-law was bustling around the room in obvious excitement. Her plan was starting to work. A week of tense calm began after Mike left for his second shift. Ashley went to work, trying not to think about her husband's suspicions. But deep down, she knew Sharon wouldn't stop. On Saturday morning, as Ashley was at the local farmer's market buying groceries, an event occurred that gave her mother-in-law new ammunition. Near the vegetable stalls, a familiar voice called out, Ashley, how's it going? She turned and saw her colleague, Kevin, from the next apartment, carrying heavy bags. Hey, Kevin. Ashley smiled. Stocking up too? Yeah. The wife sent me. You're here alone. Husband not helping. Mike's on a 3-week shift on the rigs. Ashley explained. I get it. Tough to carry everything by yourself. I managed somehow. Kevin helped Ashley carry her bags to the bus stop. They chatted about work, about how prices at the market had changed, laughing at the cost of organic kale. Thanks for the help. Ashley thanked him as she got on the bus. No problem. Say hi to Mike for me. Ashley had no idea that this innocent conversation was being carefully observed by Sharon. From around the corner, her mother-in-law managed to snap several photos on her phone. At 3 p.m., Megan, Mike's sister, came to see Ashley. The girl looked worried and tired. We need to talk, Urgently, Megan said, taking off her coat. They sat down in the kitchen. Megan nervously fidgeted with her cup, choosing her words. Listen. What's going on between you and Mom? She asked directly. What do you mean? Ashley answered cautiously. She calls me all day, telling me crazy stories. Says she saw you with some guy at the market. Showed me pictures. Ashley felt the blood drain from her face. Pictures? You're talking to some guy. You're laughing. Mom claims you were practically making out. That was my colleague, Kevin. Ashley was indignant. He helped me with my bags. We just talked. That's what I thought. Megan nodded with relief. But Mom presents it as if you were kissing and hugging. God, what else is she saying? Megan sighed heavily. Ash, prepare for the worst. Mom is keeping a real dossier on you. She writes down what time you leave the house and what time you return. She has a whole notebook of observations. You're kidding. I'm not. I saw it myself. Notes like Monday, left at 8:15 a.m. Returned at 6:40 p.m. Lights on in the window until midnight. Who was she talking to? Ashley felt a wave of nausea. This is not normal. Of course it's not normal, Megan exclaimed. But try explaining that to her. She's already called Mike and told him about your dates at the market. I don't know what exactly she said, but he sounded grim and suspicious. He calls Mom every day to ask about you, and she feeds him these stories. That you don't love him. That you married him for a green card and a place to live. And now that he's away, you're having fun with other men. Ashley laughed bitterly. And Mike believes her. I'm afraid so. Mom can be very convincing when she lies. She's always known how to manipulate Mike. That evening, Mike called. His voice was colder than an Arctic wind. Ashley, Mom told me a very interesting story. He began without preamble. What story? She asked, though she already guessed. You're meeting with a man at the market. Mike. That was a colleague. Kevin. Ashley exploded. He helped me with my bags. Mom conveyed it differently. She said you had a very deep conversation. Laughing. Hugging. Making eyes at each other. We weren't hugging. Ashley shouted. Mike. Are you insane? Hey. Don't yell at me. Mike snapped back. I'm asking perfectly normal questions. Normal questions? You're accusing me of cheating because of a normal conversation with a colleague. What am I supposed to think? First, someone else's shirt in our closet. Now romantic rendezvous at the market. Rendezvous? Ashley couldn't believe her ears. Mike, do you even know me at all? Apparently. I only know the surface. My mother has pictures of this rendezvous, and they speak for themselves. Show me these pictures. I'll show them to you when I get back. And then we'll have a serious talk. The call ended with a sharp click. Mike had hung up on her. Ashley sat in the empty apartment and cried from a feeling of utter powerlessness. The next day, she went to her mother-in-law's. Sharon, Ashley said, standing in her doorway. We need to talk. I know you're spying on me. I know about the notebook and the photos. Sharon's mask of concern instantly vanished. Spying? I'm protecting my son from a predator. You're destroying our marriage. Is there anything to destroy? She asked coldly. I see how you treat him. Indifferently. You married him for the apartment, and now that my son is on shift, you're free to do whatever you want. She pulled out her phone and showed Ashley the pictures from the market. The angle was chosen perfectly to make it look like an intimate moment. This is my colleague. Ashley seethed. Of course. Colleague. The mother-in-law sneered. Well, let's see what Mike says when I show him all this. Ashley understood the conversation was pointless. Fine, she said, getting up. Then I'm asking you not to come to our apartment without an invitation. I'm forbidding you from entering our home. Sharon was taken aback. You have no right to forbid me. It's my son's apartment, and I am his wife. It is our family apartment, and I decide who enters our home. Ashley walked to the door and turned on the threshold. And stop following me. It's humiliating for both of us. That night, Mike called. Furious. Are you out of your mind? How dare you forbid my mother from coming to her own son's house? Your mother is spying on me. Taking pictures. Keeping a dossier. She's looking after our family. And you humiliate and insult her. I'm defending my personal boundaries. What boundaries? A mother has every right to know what's going on in her son's home. Listen to yourself. You're an adult man. And I make my own decisions. Apologize to my mother immediately. I will never apologize for this. Then don't expect any understanding or support from me. The line went dead. Ashley finally understood. Mike had irrevocably taken his mother's side. 3 days before Mike was due to return, the final straw came. Ashley was returning from work when a neighbor, Mrs. Gable, stopped her in the courtyard, her eyes full of pity. Ashley, dear, is it true you're leaving your husband? Ashley was stunned. What? Sharon told the whole courtyard. Said you've already packed your bags to move in with your lover. What lover? The one you met at the market. She showed everyone the pictures. Here's the proof of her betrayal, she said. A wave of uncontrollable rage boiled inside Ashley. That evening, Mike called, his voice darker than a storm cloud. Mom says you're getting ready to leave me. Mike, that's a complete lie. She saw you packing bags. What bags? Mike, I don't. You'll have to ask her what she's imagining when I get back. My mother is spreading rumors, showing photos to the neighbors, telling wild tales. That's enough. Stop insulting my mother. I'm not insulting her. I'm telling the pure truth. The truth is you kicked her out of our home, and you don't feel a shred of guilt for it. We have nothing more to talk about. The connection was cut. Ashley knew her husband's return would be incredibly painful. I'm taking an extra shift. Straight to the third rotation without a break. Mike's voice was cold and distant over the phone on the day he was supposed to return. Without a break. Mike, I don't understand. You're exhausted. We need the money. He cut her off. And there's nothing for me to do at home right now anyway. What do you mean? Nothing to do. Mom told me everything. We'll talk when I get back. In another 3 weeks. The line went dead. Mike was gone. His mind thoroughly poisoned by his mother's lies. Days blurred into a heavy fog. One evening, returning from work, Ashley heard a faint squeak coming from the basement of their building. She stopped, listening. The sound repeated. Desperate and helpless. Peeking through the small basement window, Ashley saw a tiny ginger kitten. The baby was huddled by a heating pipe, shivering from the cold and hunger. Well, hello there, Ashley said softly, reaching her hand out. The kitten didn't run. Instead, it stretched towards her warm palm and meowed pitifully. Did your mama leave you? Ashley asked, carefully scooping the tiny creature into her arms. It was so small, clearly just born, with tears in her eyes. Without a second thought, she brought her find home. She carefully washed the kitten in the bathroom, wrapped it in a soft towel. What should I call you? She thought aloud. The kitten purred, warming up in her arms. The ginger fur reminded Ashley of a childhood cartoon. You'll be Rusty, she decided. For the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of joy. A living creature had appeared in the house that needed her. 3 days later, something happened that gave Sharon new evidence. Ashley was on the phone with her colleague, Kevin, discussing a work project. The conversation was long. Kevin, do you think we should include these figures in the presentation? Ashley said, standing by the open balcony door. Absolutely. They're very convincing. Let's meet a bit earlier tomorrow, before the workday starts, to go over the details. Great. 7:30 at the coffee shop by the office? Thanks for the help with this. No problem. See you tomorrow. The conversation lasted about 20 minutes. Ashley didn't notice that Sharon was standing on her own balcony across the way, listening intently to every word. Her mother-in-law heard a man's voice on the phone. The words meet earlier, and discuss details. It was enough for her inflamed imagination. That evening, she called her son. Mikey, I have very serious news for you. What is it? Mom, she's having dates. Right in front of me. She thinks I can't hear. She agreed to meet that same man from the market early tomorrow morning so no one would see. They were talking about discussing details that it's obvious what that means in the language of lovers. Mom, maybe it's work. Mikey, what kind of work is at 7:30 in the morning? She's openly cheating on you. The next day, Mike couldn't focus at work. His mother's words burned in his mind. That evening, he made a decision. I need to go home. Urgently. He told his foreman. Family emergency. What happened? My wife. I think she's cheating on me. I understand. The foreman said sympathetically. Go. Sort things out. Just come back quick. 3 days. Max. Mike packed his things. He didn't warn Ashley he was coming home early. On the way, he called his mother. Mom, I'll be home tomorrow. Mikey. Sharon was overjoyed. The right decision. You need to see everything with your own eyes. And she did meet him this morning. I saw them myself. At the coffee shop. He even put his hand on her shoulder. It was true. Kevin had given Ashley a friendly pat on the shoulder when they celebrated their successful presentation. And now she's at home. And she's not alone. Sharon continued. A man came to see her half an hour ago. I saw a shadow in the window. That was also true. A plumber had come to fix a leaky faucet in the kitchen. So she's in there with him. Mike's face darkened. Of course. She thinks you're on your shift. That she can get away with anything. All right. Let's go. Are you ready? Mikey. More than ready. They went up to their floor. At the door. Mike took out his keys. Wait. His mother whispered. Listen first. They pressed their ears to the door. Indeed. Voices could be heard from the apartment, a man's and a woman's. It's not leaking anymore, said an unfamiliar male voice. Thank you so much. Ashley replied. How much do I owe you? Oh, nothing. We're neighbors. Forget about it. You hear that? Sharon whispered. He's making up excuses to be familiar. Mike nodded. His mother's explanation seemed plausible. Now we go in and see everything, he said decisively. He put the key in the lock, but the door was secured with a chain, locked from the inside. His mother whispered maliciously. Means they have something to hide. Mike knocked loudly. Ashley, open up. There were hurried footsteps from inside. A muffled voice. Mike. Ashley answered. Surprised. What are you doing here? Open the door. Now. A minute passed. Mike grew frantic. What is she doing in there? Hiding him. Probably. Sharon hissed. Ashley. Mike yelled. Open the door this instant. Coming. Coming. Finally. The door opened. Ashley stood there in her house clothes, looking flustered. Mike. What happened? Never mind what happened. Mike cut her off rudely. Where is he? Confess. Who? Ashley was bewildered. Don't play dumb. We heard voices. Mike stormed into the apartment and started searching. Sharon followed him with a triumphant smile. Where did you hide him? Mike demanded. Looking in the bedroom. In the closet. On the balcony. He checked every room. Every possible hiding place. I can't find anyone. Strange. He muttered. But we definitely heard a man's voice. The plumber. Ashley said quietly. Mr. Peterson from next door? He was fixing the faucet. There was an awkward pause. A plumber? Mike asked again. Yes. The kitchen faucet was leaking. See for yourself. Mike went into the kitchen. Indeed. There were some tools under the sink and the smell of pipe sealant in the air. But, Mom said. He started. And fell silent. Sharon stood there, pale, realizing she was in trouble. And where were you this morning? Mike pressed on. At work. We had a presentation for an important project. With colleagues. Including Kevin. The one you don't like so much. I see. He said gloomily. At that moment, a little ginger kitten named Rusty ran out from under the sofa, frightened by the noise and unfamiliar voices. It meowed desperately and ran to Ashley. What's this? Mike asked, pointing at the kitten. That's Rusty. I found him in the basement a few days ago. A kitten. Mike said. Rusty rubbed against Ashley's leg, purring loudly. Why didn't you tell me? I was afraid you'd be angry. I thought you'd make me get rid of him. Mike silently watched the kitten, which trustingly approached him and sniffed his shoes. Meow. Rusty asked, as if getting acquainted. Hello. Mike said softly. Gradually, the absurdity of the situation began to dawn on him. He had burst into his own home, accusing his wife of cheating with a plumber. Mom. He turned slowly to his mother. Explain to me what's going on. Mikey. I just wanted to protect you. I didn't know he was a plumber. And what did you know? Sharon fell silent, realizing there was no excuse. Mike. Ashley interrupted. We need to talk. Seriously. In private. Okay. He agreed. Mom. Go home. But. Son. Go home. Mike repeated more firmly. Sharon left silently. Her plan had failed. But not completely. The seeds of mistrust had been sown. Mike and Ashley were left alone with the kitten, who was innocently playing with the frayed edge of the rug, unaware of the family drama. Ash. Mike began. I I don't know what to say. Your mother is deliberately destroying our marriage, she said bluntly. And you're helping her. I just wanted to be sure you weren't cheating on me with a plumber. Mike fell silent, understanding the absurdity of what had happened. We need to decide what to do next, Ashley said. I can't live in this atmosphere of suspicion anymore. Meanwhile, Rusty climbed onto Mike's lap and began to purr. He accepts you, Ashley noted. Kittens trust instinctively. And you? Mike asked quietly. Do you still trust me? Ashley was silent for a long time, looking at her husband. I don't know, she answered honestly. I don't know. After Sharon left, a heavy silence fell over the apartment. Mike, forgive me. Ashley finally broke the silence. I understand how this all looked. He turned to her slowly. Ash, you burst into her home and accused me of cheating with a plumber. Mom said she saw. Your mom. Ashley exploded again. Mike, when will you finally understand? She is destroying us. She's just worried about me. Worried? Ashley laughed bitterly. She was deliberately spying on me, taking pictures, making up stories. Mike fell silent, guiltily stroking the kitten. And the worst part, Ashley continued, is that you believe her more than you believe me? Your own wife? That's not entirely true. Then why did you drop everything and rush home? Why didn't you just call me and ask? Mike knew she was right. I don't know what to say, he admitted. And I do, Ashley said firmly. You made a choice, and you didn't choose me. Tears welled in her eyes. I have endured humiliation from your mother for months. For months, I have been proving my loyalty to you, and it was all for nothing. Rusty, sensing the tension, meowed pitifully. Even the kitten feels that something is wrong, she said, wiping her tears. We can fix this. Mike tried. How? Ashley looked at him intently. What are you prepared to do for this? Are you prepared to set boundaries with your mother? To protect our family? Mike was silent. It was the moment of choice that Ashley had so feared. Your silence is the answer, she said. The doorbell rang. Mike went to open it. It was Sharon. Her eyes red from crying. Mikey, son, she sobbed. Forgive me. I was just so worried about you. Come in. Mom, Mike said. No, Ashley said sharply. I don't want to see her. But she wants to apologize. I don't need her apologies. Sharon skillfully slipped into the hallway, feigning remorse. Ashley, dear, I realize I was wrong. Wrong? Ashley looked at her coldly. You spied on me for months. Spread rumors. I was just afraid of losing my son. So you decided to take him away from his wife? I didn't mean any harm. I thought you didn't truly love him. And what signs did you use to determine that? Sharon was at a loss. There were no signs. Just a mother's fear. Mom. Dasha. Mike intervened. Maybe you can talk calmly and sort things out. No. Ashley said decisively. Your mother doesn't want peace. She wants victory. Sharon realized that a simple apology wouldn't work. She needed to change tactics. Fine, she said suddenly, her tone shifting. Let's speak frankly. Yes, I don't want to share my son with another woman. Yes, I think I understand him better than you do. And yes, I will fight for him. Mom, Mike said in astonishment. Mikey, Sharon turned to him. I raised you alone. I gave my whole life to you. I remember. Mom, then decide who is more important to you. The mother who sacrificed everything for you, or a woman who brings a stray cat into the house without even asking you. Ashley felt the ground slipping from under her feet. Mike, she said, you have to choose now. Either you stand up for our marriage, or we're through. Don't give me ultimatums. It's not an ultimatum. It's a statement of fact. I can no longer live in this triangle. And I can't just abandon my mother. Mike exploded. Don't you understand? I can't. But you can abandon your wife, Ashley said calmly. That's not fair. Ashley laughed bitterly. We've been married for a few months. And all this time, I've been fighting not with you, but with your mother for my rights as a wife. The right to what? To accept your husband's family. His mother? His past. I'm ready to accept his family. But I'm not ready to be the third wheel in this relationship. And who is making the decisions in our family? Mike. Who do you call every day? Who do you consult with? The answer was obvious. Tell me honestly. Ashley turned to her husband. Do you see me and your mother as equals? Mike's painful silence was her answer. I see, Ashley said, and went into the bedroom. A few minutes later, she returned with a small bag. What are you doing? Mike asked. Frightened. I'm going to stay with Jess for a few days. I need to think. Ash, don't go. We'll figure it out. We have nothing to figure out until you solve the main problem. The question is, who do you want to build a family with? Me? Or your mother? Ashley picked up Rusty. I'm taking him with me. It's not his fault. Leave him. Mike asked. Please, let him stay. Ashley looked at Mike intently. There was a plea in his eyes. A plea to leave at least something from their happy days. Fine, she said, carefully placing the kitten on the floor. Rusty, you'll stay with Dad. The kitten meowed plaintively, as if understanding that something terrible was happening. Ash, don't go. Mike asked one last time. Mike, when you figure out what's more important, call me. But know that your next choice will be final. Ashley headed for the exit. At the threshold, she turned to Sharon. You got what you wanted. Congratulations. The door closed. In the apartment remained Mike, his mother, and the kitten. Mikey, Sharon began cautiously. She'll come back. She's just being temperamental. What have you done? Mom, he asked quietly. I protected our family. What family? Mike looked at his mother. You destroyed my family. You and I are a family. We've always been together. And now I want my own family. But I'm your mother. And I'll always be your mother. But not the master of my life. Mike picked up the kitten. What have we done? Rusty. We hurt her. The kitten purred. But somehow sadly. Mom. Mike turned to his mother. Go home. I need to think. But son. Go. Sharon understood that her son was serious. She left. But a new plan was already forming in her head. No wars lost until the final battle. Mike was left alone with the kitten. The apartment seemed empty and alien without Ashley. Rusty, he said. It seems I've ruined everything. The kitten rubbed against his cheek, purring. You miss her too, don't you? Mike asked. Rusty meowed plaintively, as if answering. Yes. At 10:30. The phone rang. It was Ashley. How are you? She asked quietly. Bad. And Rusty misses you. I understand. She paused. Mike, I've been thinking all evening. And what did you conclude? Honestly? I'm torn. Mike, she said. That's the wrong position. You can't be torn between your wife and your mother. You need to choose a priority. And if I can't choose, then the choice has already been made. And not in my favor. Mike, I won't wait forever. Give me an answer in 3 days. That's enough time to understand what you want from life. And if I choose you, what will happen to my mom? Your mother is an adult woman. She has her own life, her own interests. She's just forgotten about them. But it will hurt her. And me. It doesn't hurt me. Ashley's voice sounded offended. Am I your wife? Or just your mother's rival for a place by your side? Mike understood the truth in her words. 3 days. Ashley repeated. Think well. The phone went dead. The 3 days passed excruciatingly slowly. Mike barely slept or ate. He just sat and thought. Rusty changed too. The kitten became listless, refused food, and meowed pitifully, looking for his mistress. On the morning of the 3rd day, Mike woke up to silence. Usually, by this time, Rusty was already running around the apartment, playing and demanding breakfast. Today, the kitten lay curled up in a corner of the sofa. Rusty, what's wrong with you? Mike grew alarmed. The kitten lifted its head, meowed pitifully, and buried its nose in its paws again. Mike picked him up. Rusty was warm, but somehow lifeless. Are you sad? Mike asked quietly. The kitten looked at him with its big, sad eyes. Me too. Buddy. Me too. At that moment, a sharp clarity came to Mike. Even the kitten understood that without Ashley, the house had become an empty shell. The apartment was the same, but the soul had left it. Rusty, Mike said decisively, getting up. You're right. Enough tormenting ourselves. I know what to do. He washed his face, got dressed, and headed for the door. It was time to talk to his mother. Sharon opened the door in her bathrobe, her eyes swollen from crying. It was clear that she hadn't slept for 3 days either. Mikey, I'm so glad you came. Mom, we need to have a serious talk. He sat her down. Mom, I've made a decision. Mike said firmly. I'm choosing Ashley. She is my wife and my future. Sharon's face turned pale. Mikey, what are you talking about? What I should have said a long time ago. You will always be my mother. Forever. But you are not the master of my life. Son, I just wanted to protect you. Protect me from what? From happiness? From love? Ashley is a wonderful woman. Kind. Honest. Faithful. And I was blind not to see it. I want to build a family with my wife and our future children. And if you want to be a part of this family, learn to respect my wife. Sharon was silent, tears rolling down her cheeks. And what if I can't? She asked quietly. Then that will be your choice. Mom, Mike answered sadly. I don't want to lose you, but I will no longer choose between my wife and my mother. So you're leaving me? No, I'm not leaving you. I'm just ceasing to be the little boy who hides behind his mother's skirt. Mom, I love you. But from now on, my family is Ashley. Decide if you are ready to accept that. He headed for the exit. And what if she doesn't forgive you? His mother called after him. Then I will spend the rest of my life earning her forgiveness. The door closed. At home, he was met by a cheerful Rusty, who seemed to sense a change in his owner's mood. Wish me luck, buddy, Mike said. Picking up the phone, he dialed Ashley's number. Finally, she answered. Yes, Ash, it's me. I made a choice, and I chose you. Only you. There was a pause. Mike, these are just words. Are you really ready to put our family first? I am. I talked to my mother. I explained how things will be from now on. And what did she say? She'll think about it. But that doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I realized I can't live without you. If we get back together, there will be no turning back. At the first sign of the old ways, I'm leaving for good. I understand. And I am ready to be responsible for my words. Okay, she said. Meet me at the cafe on Central Street in an hour. Dima sat at a table by the window. Ashley appeared exactly an hour later. She looked tired but determined. Hello, she said, sitting down opposite him. Hi, thanks for coming. I came to listen. But understand, that doesn't mean automatic forgiveness. The waitress brought coffee. Ash, Mike began. I was an idiot. For letting my mother destroy our marriage. For not protecting you. For doubting your loyalty. Ashley listened silently. I understood a simple thing. Mike continued. My mother gave me life. But you gave my life meaning. Beautiful words. They're not just words. I'm ready to prove them with actions. What actions? Let's leave this city. Start a new life somewhere else. Mike, I don't want you to run away from your mother. I want you to learn to communicate with her. And if she doesn't want to change, that's her choice. But you shouldn't feel guilty. Mike nodded. And if my mother starts her provocations again, then I will see whose side you take. Ashley answered directly. Yours. Always yours. We'll see. Mike, will you come back? Ashley was silent for a long time, studying his face. I love you. But trust needs to be restored. Gradually. I'll come back. But at the first sign of a return to the old ways, everything is over. That's clear. Right? Crystal clear. And one more condition. We go to a family therapist together and learn to build a healthy relationship. Agreed, Mike said without hesitation. Ashley smiled for the first time during the conversation. Then let's go home. Rusty has probably gone completely mad. At home, they were met by a joyful kitten. Rusty ran around the apartment, purring, rubbing against Ashley's legs. I missed you too. She laughed, picking him up. Mike, Ashley said. You understand that the hardest part is still ahead? I understand. But now we're together. Yes. Now we're a team. Outside the window, the light came on in Sharon's apartment. Ashley noticed it but didn't comment. What about your mom? She asked. I don't know. Mike answered honestly. She has to decide for herself if she's ready to accept our rules. And if she's not ready, then that's her choice. I'm not going to be torn between you anymore. Ashley nodded. That's the right answer. Rusty settled down between them on the sofa, happy that his family was back together. You know, Ashley said quietly, the invisible ties that connected you to the past have finally been broken. And now, Mike took her hand. I have to create new ties. With my wife. Based on love and respect. Not on duty. I promise. No one else will ever come between us. It's easy to make promises. She smiled. Harder to keep them. We'll see. Outside the window. The light in Sharon's apartment went out. Somewhere over there, a woman who had dedicated her life to her son was making her own difficult decision. But here, in this apartment, a young family was starting a new chapter, with a little ginger kitten as a symbol of hope, with the understanding that love requires work, and with a firm resolve not to let anyone destroy what they would build together. The invisible ties that were torn would now have to be forged anew.